At the beginning of the 21st century, when roads had become a symbol of modern progress, no one could have anticipated an encounter with something so ancient and mysterious. On an ordinary day in 2021, on a busy highway where rush hour turns the road into an endless stream of cars, an object suddenly appeared that took everyone by surprise. This object was none other than a World War II battle tank, long forgotten even by the oldest archives. The appearance of the tank on the highway caused utter chaos. Cars, as if struck by some unknown force, scattered in all directions, trying to avoid a collision with the giant machine. Drivers, barely managing to brake in time, jumped out of their cars to see this marvel with their own eyes. And although the tank looked like an ancient relic, its powerful engines roared and its weapons appeared ready for battle. The tank seemed to have come alive from the past, carrying with it a mystery yet to be unraveled. This spectacle astonished everyone and made them wonder what was hidden behind this inexplicable phenomenon. However, what remained even more mysterious was what had happened to the crew who operated this machine in the distant past and how the tank managed to cross the chasm of time. Immediately after the tank appeared, the driver's attention was drawn to an unexpected threat. Many of them tried to understand how this was possible and where the military artifact in the middle of the highway had come from. The panic that arose was made worse by the fact that cars caught in the tank's path were braking erratically and were forced to change direction to avoid a collision. People hurriedly abandoned their vehicles, trying to find a safe place and make sure that this was not a mirage. The police and military arrived almost instantly, as information about the strange object spread at lightning speed. Experts tried to figure out how a tank that seemed to have stepped out of military newsreels ended up here. Its armor didn't have a single scratch and looked as if it had just passed a factory inspection yesterday. At the same time, the equipment inside was working flawlessly. Despite the decades that had passed, it seemed as if it had never experienced any wear and tear. While experts puzzled over this anomaly, traffic on the highway was blocked off, and the evacuation of drivers from the scene began promptly. The tank monster remained calm, taking no actions that might have completely thrown people into panic. The peaceful coexistence with a piece of technology from the past raised more and more questions. What was its last battle? Who commanded this powerful machine? And most importantly, how did it end up here, carrying within it the secrets of World War II? But soon, researchers would encounter even more incredible mysteries connected to this enigmatic discovery. With the appearance of the tank on the highway, the whole world was faced with a question: how is this possible? And if this is not simply a mistake or a modern-day prank, then how can this phenomenon be explained? Could the tank have somehow traveled through time? Or did someone find a way to bring it here from the distant past? There were even theories about the existence of temporal fluctuations or rifts through which this powerful artifact of history could have passed. A detailed inspection of the tank only reinforced these assumptions. There were no signs of aging or rust on its hull, and inside, everything looked as if the machine had just come off the assembly line. Every part, every mechanism was in perfect condition. What's more, modern fuel was found in its fuel tank, something that simply could not have existed in the mid-20th century. This discovery sparked numerous debates among experts and scientists trying to explain how such a phenomenon could have occurred. However, the most intriguing thing was that there were no traces of a crew inside the tank. No one knew who had operated this combat vehicle during its last battle or where those people had gone. The absence of a crew led to the idea that perhaps the tank had entered a time rift without its operators, leaving them behind in the past. Or maybe there were forces involved in this story that humanity had never even suspected? As the researchers delved into studying the unusual object, another mystery appeared on the horizon, demanding to be solved and connected to historical events that took place in the middle of the last century. The researchers who arrived at the site could not believe their eyes. The tank, as if it had surfaced from the depths of time, was in perfect condition. There was not a single trace of rust on its surface, which was absolutely unbelievable for such an old piece of machinery. Metallurgy experts unanimously stated that such a condition would be impossible without regular maintenance, and that conditions like rain and a variable climate should have left signs of wear. The internal systems were also a mystery. The wiring, hydraulics, and mechanics all were in working order, as if they had just been installed. Parts of the tank, such as the engine and gearbox, looked as though they had just come off the factory floor, completely untouched. But what was most baffling was the fuel found under the hood. It met modern standards, which would have been completely impossible in the 1940s. Every piece of evidence suggested that the machine had somehow been isolated from time. Engine specialists could not explain how an engine, without any knowledge of modern repairs, could function so flawlessly. Furthermore, supplies of provisions were found in the side compartments of the tank, and they were in good condition, even though their expiration date should have long since passed. This discovery led scientists to consider the possibility of some special preservation method, but none of the known methods matched the observable facts. It gave the impression that this tank was part of some global hoax or even outside intervention. And while the experts tried to find rational explanations, all the threads of this mysterious phenomenon led back to historical events that might shed light on this incredible occurrence. After inspecting the tank, the experts' attention shifted to searching for traces of its crew. Inside the combat vehicle, everything was in perfect condition, but the mystery remained. Where did those who last operated this tank disappear to? There were no notes, personal belongings, or any sign of human presence in the crew compartment. It was as if the place had been deserted for decades, yet it still retained an atmosphere of combat readiness. The researchers carefully examined every possible hiding place in the vicinity, hoping to find traces of human presence. But all their efforts were in vain. It seemed as if the people had simply vanished, without even leaving footprints on the wet ground. This complete absence of any human traces made them ponder the possible reasons for their disappearance. Were they still alive when the tank suddenly vanished from their time? Or perhaps the crew left the vehicle of their own accord? While experts were trying to solve this puzzle, attention turned to documents and archives from the Second World War. Perhaps they contain references to the last mission of this tank and its crew. However, the unexpected disappearance of the documents only added fuel to the fire. Historians and archivists began to review the available records, hoping to find at least the slightest hint about the fate of that crew, but found only blank pages and missing reports. With each new discovery, the story became more and more tangled. How could the people who once drove the tank into battle disappear along with the vehicle itself? Were they witnesses to something that no one else knew about? This mystery only deepened the desire to uncover the truth, which might be hiding in the shadows of past battles and the unturned pages of history. To understand how a World War II tank could end up in the middle of a modern highway, it is necessary to return to the events of that bloody war. In the mid-20th century, tanks were considered the pinnacle of military technology, and their creation required the efforts of hundreds of engineers and workers. The most complex operations and those with the slimmest chances of success were often entrusted to such machines, making them true heroes of their time. This particular tank took part in a battle that would later become iconic. In the autumn of 1943, as Allied forces were taking control of key territories in Europe, it was this very machine that took part in one of the most intense operations. In the heat of battle, the tank suddenly disappeared from the battlefield. Historical records indicate that its loss was mysterious. No traces, no remains. This event sparked numerous speculations, from the mundane explanation of its destruction to more mystical theories involving paranormal phenomena. For a long time, the fate of this armored vehicle remained unknown. Historians and military experts were unable to determine what had happened to it. Some claimed that the crew and the tank met their fate deep within enemy territory. Others believed that they might have been taken prisoner. However, there was not a single convincing piece of evidence to support any of these theories. And then, decades later, the vehicle suddenly appears on a busy highway, once again reigniting interest in the events of that long-ago battle. Although archival documents from that time are sometimes incomplete and unreliable due to the chaos of wartime, this discovery once again raised the question of possible unconventional technologies that might have existed in those days. One way or another, the tank that was once missing has returned to the pages of history, and its echo stretches from the past into our own time. Now that it has reappeared, experts will strive to uncover even more secrets connected to it and its crew. The place where the tank was discovered has become the center of astonishing events, as if strange forces from the past have been summoned. Witnesses reported mysterious sounds, similar to the hum of engines, coming from nowhere as the sun set beyond the horizon. This inexplicable noise made local residents uneasy, and soon rumors of mystical phenomena spread to nearby towns. Drivers passing by complained about sudden malfunctions in their vehicles. Engines would stall for no apparent reason, and the electronics began to behave extremely strangely. Even more astonishing, several people claimed to have seen vague figures flickering in the air near the tank. These shadows seemed ghostly, as if they were memories of long-past events. One such story told of a woman who, while passing near the tank, felt a slight chill and then saw a blurry silhouette in military uniform before her. It disappeared just as suddenly as it had appeared. This incident only heightened the mystical aura surrounding the discovery and made people wonder whether the place of power was a special zone where different timelines intersect. Strange incidents continued, and attention to the site only grew. Researchers who arrived at the site recorded an increase in electromagnetic fields, which could explain the malfunctions in electronic devices, but it remained a mystery why this was happening specifically here and now. The feeling that the tank was attracting secrets from the past was reinforced by stories of echoes of battle and voices in an unknown language being heard at night. The very presence of this armored vehicle, as if from another time, seemed to act as a magnet for all these anomalies. Each new incident served as a reminder that the true nature of the phenomenon and the tank's connection to these events had yet to be uncovered. Among the many theories put forward by experts and fans of the mysterious, one of the most fascinating was the idea of a hole in time. This hypothesis was based on the possibility that there are portals in certain places on our planet through which one can travel in time. In this case, the tank artifact would serve as confirmation of the existence of such anomalies. For a long time, the scientific community refused to accept such hypotheses, but the appearance of the tank forced some specialists to reconsider their views. Another theory involved the alleged participation of secret government experiments. According to this version, the authorities managed to develop a certain technology that allowed equipment and people to be preserved in a frozen state, which would mean that the tank was deliberately conserved to be preserved for better times. However, how such a project could have remained secret for so many years remained unclear. Opponents of this theory argued that no country possessed such advanced technologies during the war years that could explain what happened. There were also theories involving extraterrestrial intervention. Some enthusiasts believed that the tank could have been the object of attention of alien beings who used it as an experiment as part of their study of humanity. The question of what their intentions were and why they chose this particular vehicle remained unanswered. Although this theory seemed unlikely, it still found supporters among those who believed in the existence of life beyond Earth. While many tried to unravel the secrets of the tank's strange appearance, scientists focused on studying every detail, trying to find rational explanations. Each new discovery, whether a note or an eyewitness account, added its own nuances to the understanding of this mystery. However, it still remains unclear how and why the tank ended up in our time. These mysteries continue to captivate and inspire further research, opening up endless horizons for understanding the past and perhaps the future.